The year is 1764. The banks of the Muskingum River, deep in the Ohio country. The war is technically over. Colonel Henry Bouquet has marched 1,500 men into the heart of the territory. He has a gun to the head of the Shawnee and Delaware nations. His demand is non-negotiable: return the white captives. Bouquet expects a scene of biblical salvation. He expects hundreds of civilized Christians to run from the woods, weeping with relief, falling into the arms of their liberators. He expects to be the hero who unlocks the dungeon door. He is wrong. The people coming out of the woods aren't victims. They are furious. Look at the man in the front. He is white, born in Pennsylvania, but his ears are slit. His nose is pierced with silver. His face is painted in jagged streaks of vermilion and soot. Yet he isn't running toward the soldiers. He is screaming at them. He has to be dragged. Look at the woman behind him. She is clutching a Shawnee warrior, her husband. She is wailing. Not tears of joy, but tears of absolute devastation. She is being ripped away from her family to be returned to strangers she hasn't seen in a decade. The soldiers are confused. They try to liberate these people, but the captives are biting, kicking, and spitting. They escape back into the tree line the moment the guards look away. Children are being tied hand and foot to horses like baggage. The British officers write in their journals that the scene is distressing. That is a polite way of saying it was a disaster. They thought they were bringing civilization to the wilderness. But the people of the wilderness looked at civilization and said, "Tut no." This wasn't a rescue operation. It was a mass arrest. History loves a simple story. It tells us the frontier was a war between the savage and the civilized. It tells us that every white person taken by the tribes lived in a nightmare, praying for the day they could return. It is a lie. The documents from 1764 don't lie. They describe men washing the paint off their faces with tears. They describe women risking execution to run back to the wigwams. My name is Nathaniel Blackwood. And today, we are looking at the people who tasted true freedom and refused to spit it out. To understand why they fought to stay in the woods, you have to burn the postcard image of the colonies. Forget the brave pioneers. For the bottom 50% of the population, the frontier was a labor camp. If you were a poor immigrant in 1750, you were likely an indentured servant, a temporary slave. You sold yourself for 7 years just to pay for the boat ride. Your body was collateral. You could be beaten, traded, and starved. The settlements were mud pits of disease and debt. The church watched your every move. The magistrate taxed your labor. You lived in a rigid hierarchy where you were defined by your father's name and the coin in your pocket. It was a system of thou shalt not. The civilization the British offered was a cage. It had walls of log and laws of iron. Even Benjamin Franklin, a man who loved civilization, couldn't deny it. He wrote to a friend, completely baffled, "When a white person has lived a while among them, if you ransom them, they take the first opportunity to escape again into the woods." Franklin called it a mystery. I call it evidence. The savages had built a better society than he had. So how does a terrified captive become a warrior who refuses to leave? It wasn't Stockholm Syndrome. It was a passport. The tribes didn't take captives just to torture them. They took them to replace the dead. It was a mourning war. The process was brutal, but it had a purpose. It began at the river. Imagine the water is freezing. It's October. You are dragged into the current by 3 elderly women. They grab you by the arms, and they start to scrub. They use sand and rough herbs. It hurts. They scrub until your skin is raw. They are not washing off dirt. They are washing off Europe. They are washing away your baptism, your debt, and your colonial ghost. When you come out of the water, you are dressed in dry buckskin. You are greased with bear fat. And then, the matriarch looks at you and gives you a name. You are not John Smith anymore. You are the son who died last winter. You are given his spot by the fire. You are given his role. This is the pivot. In the colonies, you were trash. You were a servant. Here, you are blood. If the tribe starves, you starve. If they feast, you feast. For a boy who grew up dodging the whip of a master, this wasn't captivity. It was a promotion. This is where the British Empire lost the argument. They assumed their culture was superior because they had stone buildings and written laws. But the white Indians found something intoxicating: autonomy. First, there were no prisons. Think about that. A society with zero cages. Justice was personal, immediate, and based on restitution, not punishment. Second, there were no tyrants. A chief couldn't order a man to fight. He had to convince him. Leaders were servants, not masters. And then there were the women. In the colonies, a white woman was property. She moved from her father's house to her husband's house. She owned nothing. In the longhouse, the woman was the owner. The lineage ran through her. She controlled the food supply. She appointed the leaders. If a husband was lazy, she could divorce him by simply putting his belongings outside the door. Imagine a white woman, captured at 16, who has spent 5 years living as a respected head of a household. Now Colonel Bouquet shows up. He drags her back to a settlement where she will be scrubbed, put in a corset, told to shut up, and treated like a broodmare. Is it any wonder she fought him? Is it any wonder she ran back to the woods the first night she could? They didn't stay because they were wild. They stayed because they were free. Let's go back to the river in 1764. The sun is setting. The British Guards are nervous. They are watching their own rescued citizens like hawks. In the shadows, ropes are being cut. Silently. One by one, the victims are slipping away. They are shedding the wool blankets of the king and disappearing into the tree line. They are going home. We like to think of history as an elevator. We tell ourselves that no one would ever choose to get off, but thousands did. They looked at our taxes, our jails, and our poverty, and they rejected it. They realized the forest was the upgrade. The mystery isn't why they stayed. The mystery is why we never learned from them. My name is Nathaniel Blackwood, and this is History Reconstructed.